Welcome back to the SBP Podcast Mobile Filmmaking. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and you are listening to episode 175. Hey, we've got a wonderful guest for this episode of the SBP Podcast, Jeremy Gladen, who is in LA. He's an actor. He's also a really good friend of mine since 2009, right before the film festival. We're going to discuss a little bit about that and lots of really cool things. Jeremy, welcome to the SBP Podcast Show. How are you?
Thanks, Susie. I'm good. I was thinking of the year, and it was it 2009?
Yeah. It was in the spring. It was in the spring of 2009.
Spring. Wow. Because when we were up in those mountains, it was definitely winter.
Well, yeah, we had snow blizzards and snow, but there was some days when the sun was shining, and because it's reflecting off the white snow, it got really warm. How many layers were you wearing during our evening shoots? I think I had like 20 layers on, and I was still freezing.
Yeah, I think because I was in my actual wardrobe costume for the show, for the movie, was wool. It was like this thick wool Civil War thing. So
soldier.
Yeah. So under that, I think I had maybe 3 layers under that.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. But I was still cold, so I probably could have used more.
I remember that scene. This movie was about Walt Whitman, letting our listeners know. But the girl, the director's sister, and she was walking out there. You guys had fog machines and stuff.
Yeah.
Or, I don't think they were fog machines because couldn't hear them. I don't know.
They were fog. Yeah, they were fog.
So she's walking out there, and I mean, she was practically blue. I mean, she was bare except for this little white nightgown. It was, oh my God.
And yeah, she had on sandals, I think. So because she was barefoot the whole time.
The things that people do and never get paid enough to do.
Right?
Jeremy, you're an actor, and I think it would be really good to run. I mean, you've been in you have, when I saw, what was that, I See You? Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah, I See You.
Okay. Yep. It's funny because that was a very intense scene that you were in.
Yeah, it was pretty juicy. It was very fun too, and it kind of sucks because they actually cut several parts of that scene out. So I had a little bit more screen time, but that's okay. I mean, I was happy that I even made it into the final cut. You know,
I don't think they could have avoided that because it was so intense. You did such an awesome job in it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was.
I mean, during that scene, I'm holding my breath going, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? You know?
Yeah.
What was the character that you played?
So his name was Tommy Braun. He was so basically the premise of the movie is there's a missing kid and there's a detective that goes to look for him. And he finds out that there was a previous, it's basically the same guy creating these kidnappings that happened 10, 15 years ago. And I play the grown-up version of a kid who was kidnapped around that time, like 10, 15 years prior. And the detective finds me to go talk to me to see if I have any information to give him. And that's where he comes to the house and he sees me in the backyard and I'm all mangled. And yeah.
You are, how many roles have you played?
That's a great question. How many roles? Not enough.
This actually, because your acting ability has always, and guys, I want you to understand this. I'm not saying this because Jeremy is a friend. I'm not talking this up. This is, you guys know me. I'm very, upfront, and I'm not going to kid you. And I want you guys to go, what's your website, by the way? JeremyGladen.com, right?
Yeah, JeremyGladen.com, GLADEN.com.
After 13, 14 years or whatever it's been, 15 years.
That's nuts.
I've been pronouncing your last name wrong.
That's all right.
So Gladen, so his acting ability is impressive, and it only just keeps getting better. And when you go to his website, I would like for you guys to go and look at his gallery. They're all clips and scenes, right, that you've been a part of. And you'll see really impressive acting. And I would say that most of the actors that I've ever met, Jeremy, that have done film started in theater and really did really well in their character development when they were acting on films.
Thank you.
Would you say that's part of why?
Yeah, I think that's a huge reason. I mean, just having access to drama club in high school and then, becoming a thespian and just doing the thing in high school. It was, I mean, I feel like me and all my friends back then were pretty privileged with what we had in high school.
I did too, just so you know. I used to think it was the best thing because I traveled so much. So wherever I went to a new school, you go into where all the drama kids are and join the drama class. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're accepted and you're in now, right?
And it's a shame that, I don't know how it is now, but they were trying to get rid. I mean, in Ohio, I grew up in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and they were trying to get rid of arts altogether, like no theater in high schools, none of that. So I don't know what it looks like now, but yeah, it does.
That really does suck because it's like, part of learning is enjoying your passion, what you're passionate about, and following those things. Yeah. And acting really does help people open up. It's a form of expression, acting is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So one of the things that I do want to talk about for a second here is, and I want to make that announcement. I don't think we've even made that yet. So let's do it. Let's do it now and share with everybody how cool this is. So Jeremy is, for the first year, he is part of our judging panelists for the short films competition. How do you feel about that?
I want to hit a button that makes the clapping sound because I'm super excited. Like, I'm pumped that you even reached out and asked me to do that. I think I'm honored and it sounds awesome. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I think I'm trying every year, to bring at least one person new in. But at the same time, it's a big deal to be a judge just because I give that part of our competitions is very important because people want to win, and people who win need to know that it's real. It's not, some little flingy thing from some mobile phone film festival. So that's funny. And the other thing that I wanted to discuss with you is I think this is going to help some of our friends who are listening who also act. I've been promoting that actors act. Can you think about that? And sometimes you're waiting around for a long time to, you spend a lot of time, you go to an audition, right? And then you come home and you're waiting, and then you go to another audition, and then you come home with your waiting. And I think there's something that can happen in between, which says, cast yourself, make your own movies.
Definitely. Yeah. Yep. So I'm taking a class right now and I have it every Thursday. And so last night somebody had mentioned, they want to go about acting in the traditional way, which is, submitting yourself, your reps submitting you getting cast in like a network TV show or a studio film or an indie project, whatever it is. But then she was like, in the meantime, what is super helpful is creating your own content. And like you just said, casting yourself and keeping that, the wheels greased. I don't know why I want to say that, but yeah, keeping your work as an actor, keeping it oiled and just staying fresh with what you got, however you can.
Yeah. And one of the cool things about also doing that is like you might find your inner director like Ron Howard did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many that have done that. And because, you know, being on set, you learn a lot. And the basis, you know, the foundation of filmmaking is storytelling.
Acting too, storytelling.
And yes, acting. Everything is about the story.
Yep.
You know, telling the story. And you tell it with the lighting, you do it with the audio, you do it through the cinematography, you do it through all the, you know, the editing and the effects, you do it through the actors and the characters. And when you're doing all those things, I forgot where I was going to with this. Thanks, Jeremy.
Well, I was going to say, you also do it through craft service because that's the best part about a set.
Yes. No, but while you're doing all those things and part of that foundation is the storytelling, it really doesn't matter. That's what I was trying to get to. It really doesn't matter what tool you are using to bring that together. You are on set, you're doing all these things, you're witnessing all these things. So when you go to do that on a phone, you're not saying, oh, it's a different camera and I wouldn't know that one from this one. What you're really bringing together to work for you in your storytelling and filmmaking attempt, right? At least at first, is all of that stuff that you've witnessed. The only difference is, oh, you're going to use a phone for the camera.
Right.
And so everything else you've already learned. And you get to put it into practice. And I think that builds up your confidence too.
It does. And it's super helpful to see yourself as much as, I mean, most actors I know they don't like to watch themselves. Me specifically, I'm not a big fan of it, but it's super helpful, even if it is on your phone, to watch yourself back and see, or, you know, even if it is a director and you're looking at your own cinematography, do it on your phone. Why not?
We were talking a second ago about your Vimeo channel, because you've shot quite a number of videos on your phone. And when I say videos, they're basically scenes, right?
Yeah, some of it, I have some scenes, but a lot of it too is like experimental weirdness that I'm just like, oh, I'm going to do this and put it over here. But most of it's with my iPhone. Yeah. So
how did you find that experience? And do you have, now we've known each other for a long time, but I don't know, in your circle of friends, you know, there's several layers, right? Because you're an actor and you're in the industry as well. Do you get acceptance from that? Do you bring that up with anybody?
I mean, we were talking earlier and I was talking about, you know, as an actor auditioning with your phone, regardless of what the make or model is of your phone. You know, a lot of casting directors encourage actors to work from their phone. And so what ends up happening is I don't know where I was going with that either.
Well, you're using your phone for casting calls, you mean?
Yeah, for casting calls. And it's a lot of like, people are like, oh, the competition's getting thick. Like people are using, you know, big production style cameras and like crazy kinds of lighting to like production value, but it really can be so simplified as an actor, because the point of a self-tape is they want to see your acting. They don't care about,
they want to see the raw you, right? Basically.
Right. So you can use any camera you want, but most importantly, you can use a phone, which is way easier than using, you know, a DSLR or some kind of, you know, other fancy camera.
You know why? Another reason is that the phone is so easy, because you do it all the time.
It's like always in your hand, constantly.
Yeah. You're constantly practicing without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Whereas if a cinematographer or a camera person per se, you know, they're not out all over town with their RE or Black Magic or DSLR even. Right. You know, like I have a DSLR. It's not a DSLR. It's an SLR. It's still film, but it's it's a great camera, and I haven't had the thing to use it because first of all the lenses are heavy, and
they're heavy.
then you worry about dropping it. You can't just leave it in the car. It's not. My purse is too small to carry that thing around, and
and the lenses too are noisy. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I'll try to make I don't know. I try to get fancy, and it's a waste of time most of the time.
Yeah, and again, it's just the popularity and the mobility. Mm-hmm. That yes, a DSLR is mobile because you can take it anywhere easy. But it's still something you got to plan to take out of the house. You don't just go grocery shopping with your DSLR. And then something could happen there. And how are you going to film it? That would be a great insert shot for my film, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, does that happen to you?
I was going to say, unless you're a YouTuber, that's a whole other, those YouTubers get into fancy things when they could just have much better quality with their phone sometimes. Yes,
for sure. We've got some friends. You're going to meet them. The guys that are doing the workshop.
Awesome.
For the festival. And they shot an iPhone film, a series called No Budget Zorro. Mm-hmm. And they shot that with their iPhones. And they're quote unquote YouTubers. I guess, but they're also they make films and they do all kinds of things. And so what I find really cool, that's called Art School Dropouts.
I'm raising my hand because I am one.
Yes.
Yep. To answer your question, because you had asked if I told people that I used a phone to make that. Of course. Yeah. I have no shame in that.
Good for you. Yeah. And do you get any responses that are kind of like, why would you do that if you could access? I mean, I don't know what you have. Do you have a DSLR too?
Yeah, I have a DSLR. It's an old one. It's an old model. It's the Canon T7i, which it's puny. It was like
it's still a Canon.
Yeah, it's still a Canon. It was $700. I bought it refurbished. I love it. Yep. And I have different lenses for it, but again, like we were just talking, it's bulky. Mm-hmm. I really can't make the kind of self-tape I want. Actually, I get a better self-tape from my iPhone.
Resolution and all that?
Resolution, the lighting seems to always be better because the iPhone, it's like, you can use what's the app? I'm sure you know it.
The Black Magic app?
No, it's is it
Filmic Pro?
Filmic Pro, that's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Like that is fancy. if you want to bump up your quality of a self-tape, but if you're doing like a trying to make a film on it, I think it's definitely serves a purpose. Filmic Pro.
Yeah, the reason I brought up Blackmagic is because it's free and it's from the same makers of DaVinci, the editing system, and the Blackmagic camera as well. But it's completely free, and it has all the features, from what I know, that Filmic Pro has.
Got it. Good to know. I'll have to download it.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yep, it's right, literally, like not even 5 inches hand. Away.
Yep. Yeah. So, Jeremy, if you want, we're going to inspire someone to act, film, and direct their own film. Mm-hmm. How would you inspire them? What would you say to them?
I mean, first and foremost, maybe, is to not overthink it. If you're an actor that's, putting yourself on tape, like you want to make your own, create your own character and put yourself out there. I've been asked by my rep, my agent has asked me to create like a 1-minute short in a very specific type of character so that, casting directors can see me as that type of character that I don't necessarily already have in my reel or my other footage. And we went back and forth about ideas, basically coming up with a script. Well, I'm talking ahead of myself. What you want to do is come up with a character that you want to play. Like it could be a dream role, and then write like a 1-page script, dialogue, prop up your phone, because that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use my phone. I mean, the quality is just as good, and go for it. You don't have to, you don't even have to be, I mean, if it's just to show your acting, you don't necessarily have to be a photographer or a cinematographer. Just get yourself footage that you need. Prop up your phone and hit that record button. But just trust yourself, have fun. I know that sounds lame.
No, actually, but it's key to almost everything that we're doing. I mean, yeah, if you're going to work hard, you might as well be enjoying yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's like, if you haven't this idea of a type of role that you want to play, and you feel like you're not getting it ever in your career, why not just make it yourself and have it up on your website or YouTube or on your breakdowns, your Actors Access, your LA Casting. You can have them all on video, have the footage on anywhere you can upload footage, and then people can see you in that role, even if it's just you in your apartment on your phone.
Kitchen table. Playing 2 characters.
Yeah. I've definitely done that way back in the day.
I know.
Yeah.
I was up the other night. I didn't realize you had so many clips on your website.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching all of them. And some of these clips, I mean, how do you colorize them and everything?
Yeah, so I colorize the ones that I shoot myself. And then the other footage that I have up there is somebody else has edited it. But yeah, all the things I've shot on my iPhone, I've colored it, or I'll throw on like a cool artsy filter in some app, because that's super easy too. It's like if you shoot on your phone, you can edit on your phone, and you can upload on your phone, and it's so much easier.
Yes. And the quality on the phone, you have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
So which iPhone do you have?
It's old.
That's
it's
okay.
Old.
Mine's the 13, so.
I think I'm one under you. I think I'm the 12.
Well, that's still good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, when I first started this, Conrad Mess shot a film that I promoted a lot to inspire people. Look, you can do this. You can do this.
Yeah.
And he shot it with an iPhone 4.
Oh.
And it was called The Fixer. And what he did was he brought it into Adobe After Effects.
Mm-hmm.
He brought it into Adobe After Effects. He got the sound. He hired somebody online and they did the voice of the actor, because there were no good ways at that time to figure out how to get good audio into a phone anyways.
Yeah.
So all the post-production with that footage that he shot by putting it on a regular tripod, and he even did rack focus in Adobe After Effects.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great film. And the point of it was that I promoted that film like crazy to inspire people, because that was the very first film I received. And it was like my dream come true. It was like, this is exactly what I'm trying to tell people. This is the future.
Yeah.
And that was, the iPhone 4 came out in 2010, Jeremy.
Yeah. And speaking of that, it's like too, the iPhone, it has all those cool features that you can actually shoot in the phone, not even having to put it in an editor. You can shoot in slow-mo. It's like it does things like that. So it's like already made for you.
Yeah, it definitely gives you. And the purpose of that is not because, that's how you should do it.
Right.
Like for me, I personally think no effects on the phone. Wait till you get it in post, because then you can manipulate everything and then go back and go, okay, never mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, because.
Right. But at the same time, the cool thing about that is like you can shoot something in slow-mo a scene that you plan to make or whatever, and you can see the effect of that instantly, how it'll look in post after you've implemented it before you shoot it.
Yeah. Same with the color, like colorizing. I know the Filmic Pro app, I think you can shoot in, what do they call it when it's like
LUTs?
Yeah, it's where it's super grayed out, you know, and then it's easier.
Log capture.
That's it.
Blackmagic camera also does that, but I think you have to have, I'm pretty sure, you have to have the 15 for that.
Got it.
Because the 15 comes with log capture now, the iPhone. It's total game changer.
That's
now.
amazing. Wait, iPhone 15 has that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the Pro and the Pro Max.
Yeah.
Not the regular one. But if you get the Pro, then you have the color grading. And they've also, well, we'll talk about that more later.
Well, I was going to say, too, you were talking about audio. And I just purchased for my self-tapes a lav mic that hooks up to my iPhone. And the sound quality is like 10 times better.
Yes.
And I paid like $20 for these lav mics from Amazon.
Yeah. How cool are you?
How cool. How cool.
I know. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're Bluetooth. So you're not hooked up to a wire. You can be as far away as you. I mean, I think you can only be so far, but you can be farther away than you typically would be if you were like hardwired.
Yeah. Like RF signals on the regular labs, you know, it's like, I remember having this poor teenage girl standing on top of this building while I was shooting her from below. And I wasn't even on, but this is my old video production day. She said she was scared of heights, and I'm so cruel.
That's cruel.
Like, well, then
that's so cruel.
You're going to get up there and I'm going to, with the lavs. And she's like, can you hear me? I'm like, yeah, just do your lines. You know, she was hosting a video. Poor thing. Then I made her get up on the ledge.
I was going to say, was she on a ledge or like the edge of the building?
It was so it was UCSD, the university.
Yeah.
And so I was actually, that was my very first project that I was given, and I was giving full, I mean, it was great. And so on the sign, which is out front somewhere, right? There's this sign that says huge UCSD, you know, all spelled out. And it was like probably about 7 feet high. It's not like the end of the world, but to somebody who's afraid of heights, getting up on a ledge on top of that sign, that was.
Yeah, you could probably break some bones from 7 feet.
But yeah, there's lavaliers, there's shotgun mics. I've used the shotgun mic. I like Audio-Technica as a brand the best.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you as well is I want to go a little bit into, I'm constantly trying to people, yes, you can make a movie with your phone, a narrative film, blah, blah, blah. You know, we are film festival competition for the feature films.
Man,
they're narrative films.
I can't wait to see them. I'm so excited.
You're going to be blown away.
Yeah.
By all of them, even the short films. But yes, the cool thing about it is that the feature films are shot completely with a phone. I allow only from, I think it was like in 2018 that I announced, okay, guess what? You can shoot aerial drone footage. And the reason for that also is because it brings up the production value.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like M. Night Shyamalan's films, you know, usually always start out with an aerial shot of something out in the woods or something, right? Before they come down into the scene.
Oh, are you talking about it's probably my favorite of his, the only favorite of his.
Mine is Signs.
Yeah, Signs was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that movie. I just loved it. I think I probably watched that movie 13 times and I still haven't memorized the lines because I'm that great.
And it was Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes, he was in it. And
what year was that?
I think that was 2004, 2005, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know I was living out there in the mountains, and the screen door that we had was wood, like the one in the signs, and it had that squeaky spring when you open and it swung closed, poof, and it reminded me of that, like, oh, this is so awesome. They're using our screen door.
And you were also wearing foil on your head.
Yes, that's right.
Don't lie.
So, Jeremy, when you're acting in films, where I was going to with this, I'm trying to promote that, yes, you could do it on the phone, concentrate, because filmmakers, especially independent filmmakers, sometimes, they're experimenting with their cameras and sets and all these things. And I want people to start focusing, first of all, write a screenplay. It's very easy when you're making a short to just say, well, we know the story. We just need a storyboard or a storyline, but we don't really need a screenplay. And I think screenplays are very helpful to actors for character development. What do you say about that? Because I'm trying to get mobile filmmakers to not only make better films, even though they're doing awesome. I'm like impressed every year, Jeremy. But on top of that, to emphasize the acting and the character building, there are a lot of films that I've watched even on Netflix, right? And the acting is not so great, and it just kills the story.
It does. Yeah. So you mean for like longer format, like more of a feature than a short?
I think in a feature more than a short, but I also would say it's really important also in a short, because you only have a few minutes really to tell that story.
Yeah, character development for any film, short or feature, is super important.
Where did you get your expertise in acting? Because you're that good. I have to ask.
Well, thank you. I did theater all through high school. I had training in college. I was double majoring in photography, because I was like, I could get some, behind the scenes sort of experience, which for me was through photography. And at the same time I was doing theater. And then I moved out to LA, and I think honestly, at the very beginning, I had taken film acting for, camera classes back in Ohio. And then when I moved to LA, I just kind of jumped right into getting involved on set. I think that's honestly the best way to learn. Learn from your peers, see how other people do it. And yeah, that's kind of what I did for many, many years. And now I've taken classes online, and now I'm finally in an in-person acting class after the pandemic. I'm finally in one that I really enjoy, because it's a completely fresh approach to acting, and I'm loving it so far. But that's now. So before that was one-off acting classes, or I like to thank my teachers growing up in high school that taught me cool shit, and in college too. A lot of it.
Where did that come from? Where like, okay, you were born one day.
One day I was born. That's it.
But there's always a little glimpse of, early childhood that kind of, what's that story?
That story is pretty awesome. I have to say, my dad was, he worked a lot. He worked out of town all the time. So he was around when he could be around. And when he was, it was awesome. He basically was a filmmaker, and he wasn't pursuing it professionally by any means, but he was making, they weren't just, he made the home movies, but he was making home movies. And he would cast me and my two brothers in all of his films. So there's a lot of footage of me as a kid playing, like I remember there was a little short he made of me and my two brothers. We were all poker players, and I was the card dealer, and it was called 5 Card Stud. And he gave me this like mustache made out of, what was it made out? It was like some fabric, and it was just taped on. And I remember it kept falling off. So I'd have to like, I think I was 5 years old, and I would giggle, and I'd have to pick up my mustache and like put it back on. And he would do the voiceover of me, so I sounded like some older smoker, like who was a card dealer. A lot of cool stuff. So I think that's where that came from, 100%. Like inspired by my dad, who, not only that, but he made these movies he called them bits and pieces, where he would take footage from all these super cool like 70s and 80s films, whether they were horror movies or like action films, and he would splice different scenes together and just make this really cool like montage, like these clips from other movies, and that was super inspiring to me. Yeah. And they're all on VHS.
You were inspired by your dad.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
So as you were getting a little older, like you said you were 5, and then at what point, I mean, he just did this up through your elementary school and stuff, or?
Yeah, elementary school. He was always very like wanting to, get like Halloween costumes. Like he was super into Halloween, which made me super into Halloween. Because it's also like, that's like, I don't know, every actor's favorite holiday. It's like you get to dress up and be a different
production.
Character. It is. Totally. It's a production. Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is like, well, I tell people, I'm like, hey, it's Halloween is coming. Grab your phone and start, snagging, some cool scenes.
Go to the cemetery.
It could even be just shooting somebody's feet walking by. You know what I'm saying, with all the colors of the lights and all that stuff.
The leaves blowing.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Yeah, I love Halloween too. You're right. That's a very popular holiday for that. So he was doing all that for Halloween, and you're growing up like that in elementary school. And then at what point did you say, this is something I want to do for the rest of my life, I think?
Let's see. I mean, I did some talent shows when I was in, this is way back, 6th grade. Yeah, I guess I'd just been doing it ever since, and at home, just performing for family. And then my friends being, stupid and doing silly performance things in, the basement. But then high school came, and that's when it was like, oh, drama. That's what I'm going to do. That's it. And then high school, after I graduated, I was like, I can't be an actor. Like there's no financial status. There's no way I can make a living doing that. Because for one, I was in, Cleveland, Ohio, where it just wasn't a thing.
Is it better now?
Yeah. So it's great. I mean, if you're an indie filmmaker, it's a great place to be. Even there's a lot of studio films that go through Cleveland now too, just because the tax break is way less.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So it wasn't until after probably like the first couple of years of college where I was like, okay, I want to pursue this professionally. So then that was it. I quit school, dropped out of art school, and moved to LA. Yeah.
Just one of those guys.
One of those.
But the cool thing about it is, what was your first casting? What was your first experience in Hollywood, as far as what you would feel at least that was Hollywood? And I'm not talking about the sidewalk or the strip.
Yeah, because have you been?
Yes, of course. Like everybody says, so listeners, if you're listening to us from, some other country, you probably think the Hollywood Strip, Hollywood Boulevard, that's where, the glamour is. No, guys, it's in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's almost a clown show, on there.
And you will
whenever
see
I've gone
clowns.
there. Yes, you will.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
But
quite
it's
the
very
spectacle.
interesting. It's a setting that is almost perfect for movie making, though, as well. So you were there, and so let's go back to that. What was
Yeah.
your first?
Well, I think when you say Hollywood, I like to. I'm using air quotes like Hollywood.
Yeah.
My very first feature film that I was ever cast in, I was 20 years old in Cleveland, Ohio, and it was a feature horror film called Elementary. That was like the first big production that I was in, and same with my friends in that movie. We still keep in contact, and I love it. It's great because it was all our very first feature. Like, we all came from a theater background, and then here we are shooting this film every night of the week, sometimes on school nights or nights I had to work, days that I had to work. And the director and his pals, they made their own equipment. Like,
Oh.
yeah, their dollies. They had dollies, like, you know, big production quality dollies that they actually went to Home Depot, bought the piping, they cut the piping, and they built it themselves, and it was mind blowing.
I've known some. I remember somebody making a jib for a scene for a movie, and it was at my house because we were shooting part of it over when I was living out there in the woods, in the mountains.
Yeah,
and it was
cool.
like 12 feet long or something like that.
Yeah,
yeah, it was crazy.
How do you make a jib?
I don't know,
now.
but people rig, you know, it's, you know, a lot of the people that rig this kind of stuff, I mean, they're the same people that can build you a car.
Right. Exactly.
In a parking lot.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so that was your first, and what was your impression of that? What did you get out of that experience?
After that movie came out, we had like a whole premiere for it at the Cedar Lee Theater in Cleveland, Ohio. We got a limo. We did the whole like red carpet thing. I was like, this is fucking cool.
The red carpet.
Yeah. I mean, it was a blast. And I think
wait, I'm sitting here smiling. You don't see it. Just wait till you come to our red carpet. It's a blast.
I can't wait.
Well, it's a show. It's a show.
Yeah.
We got the cosplayers, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait.
It was really important when I first started this, Jeremy, that I did it in a way that it was an in-person film festival, to say I'm rolling out the red carpet and give people that kind of respect, because look at what Jeremy just said. It inspires you. It's kind of, it's not really all affirmation, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's like that. It's like the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah, it is. And it also is like, for like a film fest setting, it's a very celebratory experience. I think it just brings the people together. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Thank you. I thought you were going to say something about your comparing it to the experience that you had at that screening. And did you also go to film festivals for it, or did they win awards and things, or that also helps, right?
Yeah, that does help. Actually, I have a short film that played tonight at some theater, I don't know, somewhere in Hollywood.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's making some festival rounds. But that one that we did in Cleveland was, I think they got really close to getting distribution for it, but it never happened. So they just did they self-distributed, I guess is the word for it.
Yeah.
So there was a DVD, and I think at some point you could buy it. I don't know if you still can.
I'm laughing because we had this experience with the Walt Whitman movie.
Yeah.
There are people, you know, like where whatever happened. But I've worked on so many films that were like that. Like some of them like never made it out, you know, from post-production. You know, the experience I mean, what are you going to say? You worked for it. You did your best while you're there. And then, like you said, when they cut out parts of your character in the I See You film, it's like, you're like, oh, but you got to take the wins on top of that, and you're just, I think that whole scene probably could have been taken out, but I got a feeling that they decided to keep it because it was so freaking creepy, Jeremy. It had that effect, and it kind of, I think the film kind of needed it then before it goes further where it really gets creepy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because, I mean, they could have edited that whole scene out completely and the movie still would have been great.
I know. And I know these things because I watch so many films that I know that they have to be a particular running time.
Yeah, exactly. The running time.
Sometimes I can say to somebody, kind of hint them like, if you could tighten this up and make it better in the end. And some people have heeded to that advice and they liked it, know?
Yeah. Yeah. But so you're right too. Like the wins, you got to take the wins. And that was a win for me for sure.
Definitely. I can't forget that scene.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get to, what are you expecting? I mean, what are you expecting? Let me rephrase that.
My expectations are pretty low.
What are you working on next? What's your next big project that you're working on? I mean, outside of coming to San Diego for the festival.
Right, which I'm super excited about. I'm so pumped. Right now, auditions have been slow. I don't really have anything in the wings right now except focusing on my class and doing scene work in there right now.
I'd say it's a good time, Jeremy, to hook up with some people at the festival and make a feature on the phone. And I really think you should be the protagonist of whatever it is that you end up making.
The protagonist.
Yeah,
that sounds great. I will say well, two things. One, I did a short film with a director who where the short film's the one I mentioned about premiering tonight at a film fest.
Yeah.
He brought me on his second project, and instead of being in front of the camera, I was behind the camera as I was the casting director for it. And then I was also the AD, the first AD. That was intense. So props to anybody who, that's what they do. And they do it like full scale every day. That's insane.
You're like the drill sergeant on set.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Everything, every part of a production is super important, but the AD, man, wow, what a job.
Yeah, it is a very important job, but it also is so necessary because that way the director can focus on the vision and work with the character building part with actors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they don't have an AD, it's just taking more from them.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right.
Where was I going with that? I was going somewhere. Oh, you would ask me like if I had anything going on, but I was going to mention quickly that I did a short back in January, and the director texted me the other day with a screen grab of his editing bay. Yeah. And he basically locked the whole film down. Nice. Except we have one more scene to shoot, and he's not sure if we're going to shoot it. But I will say that was an incredible experience. The director's name is Max Jeffrey, and he's brilliant. And I can't wait to see that.
What's the genre?
Interesting question. You'll have to find out. Yeah. It's a little. I think there's a lot of open ins to the whole production, but it's about like a 20-minute short, I would say. Yeah, There's a lot of surprises, I think.
Well, we'll just have to wait for that. When can people find out?
Good question. I'm not for sure.
I'm just full of good questions today, huh?
I know. I was like, I just said good question like 5 minutes ago or like 1 minute ago.
Well, usually that. Great question. Too bad I can't answer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Soon.
That's great. And again, every experience you have, whether, as we share with mobile filmmakers, every experience that you have turns into your expertism, that's where it leads. The more and more you do it, like Jeremy, all the experiences that I don't know how many you've ever turned down, but I would imagine it's really hard to turn a project down on this. It's conflicting with something else because you're getting more experience and more chances to perfect your skill as an actor. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I think, that old saying, beggars can't be choosers. I think the only thing I've ever turned down are auditions, and it's probably because I don't want to, depending on what the storyline is or the character, it's maybe like, not so interesting, or maybe I don't necessarily need it for my repertoire or whatever you call it, my footage,
your portfolio.
Yeah, my portfolio. I mean, man, I can't wait for that day where I'm just like, oh, can't do that.
And choosing.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I do think you're going to get there. I really see, I've watched you from, you were just like a teenage soldier. That sounds like a song. Is there a song that says that?
Teenage Wasteland.
I was thinking Teenage Soldier. I was thinking literally that song. That's funny. Because I'm very bad. I'm very bad with lyrics and things like that. Yeah. So
who sings that? Teenage Wasteland.
The Who? Is it The Who? Or one of those? I don't know. It's one of those bands.
Yeah.
I sound horrible. Hey, guys, if I'm offending you with my no knowledge of... just reach out to me and let me know. Jeremy, it's been great having you on the show for the first time. I know you're going to be back.
This is super fun.
Yeah, and probably after the festival too, to get some what you were thinking was going to happen, and now, the end result.
Yeah, also, you were right about The Who. I Googled just now.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, yeah. That's a good lucky guess on my end. Jeremy, any last words? I know that sounds really bad.
Any last words? I will leave you with this. No, actually,
I'm waiting. My ears were.
I will leave you with this. So I saw today, and it's inspired me, and it's probably going to be in my back pocket every day for as long as I live. So it was a quote. It wasn't really even a quote. It was more a question. It was, do you want people to like you, or do you want to be free? If you've got creative juices flowing and you need to get something out there, don't sit and wait till you have enough money to buy a fancy camera that you don't even need, and you can just use the phone that's in your back pocket or wherever you carry it. You know what I mean? So it's like, just don't sit and wait for things to happen. You can be making things. So maybe that's what my last words actually are.
My last words to that, though, Jeremy, is...
Yeah, tell me your last words, please. My
last words to that, to encourage some of your acting friends, our acting friends, is that when you have people in Hollywood who are okay with standing and doing their performing, let me rephrase that, when they're performing in front of the lens coming up from a phone.
Yeah.
They're still able to do they're not thinking about that. It doesn't matter to them. What I've heard is, this is coming from Mark Hadlow and Jed Brophy, who were in the Hobbit films. For them, it was like when you read a good story, a good screenplay, that's what makes the decision. I want to be in this, and I can play this part, and I want to play it. I accept this challenge. And that's probably something similar to what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you, like you were saying earlier too, or like we talked about before we hopped on here, it's all about the storytelling. So if you're in it, if you're in the story, doesn't matter what it looks like per se.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in it, then you're in it, and it is what it is.
And I like your perspective, and I wanted to share this with our listeners because I think there are listeners who are writing incredible screenplays, mm-hmm. and they're waiting for that screenplay to get picked up. And I'm like, gosh, you literally can just reach out to people who are making movies with their phone, mm-hmm. and share this with them. And don't be afraid to look for really good actors, like Jeremy, to act in them, because if your screenplay is awesome, and it should be, right? You're mm-hmm. always, as a writer, that's your goal. Then don't be afraid to reach out to really good actors. They don't always have to be just whoever will accept. It's like, don't settle for it. Look for the best person that can portray your character. And people like Jeremy, actors mm-hmm. like you, that's your job. That's what you want to do.
And you know what? To add to that too, is there is a huge thing happening now in Hollywood where they're calling them vertical movies. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
They are like the hottest thing right now. And I will say I have not personally submitted myself, but I've had friends that have, and I've heard stories and I've read scripts.
But explain it to our listeners what that is.
Yeah, so basically what it is there's all of these new apps that are coming out that are, short format, so you can watch episodics that are like 1 minute long episodes. Mm-hmm. And there are many different kind of apps that are coming out now that are, like YouTube, watching YouTube shorts, but it's within the specific app, and they're like a series. Like a lot of them are very soap operas. Mm-hmm. There's like mystical elements to a lot of them. They're like romance, high dramas, but they're basically episodics that are shot on phones. And
yes. But they're also to be watched on the phone.
To be watched on the phone. That's right.
Don't submit those to our film festival, because
don't do
in
that.
Person.
It's also not the right format.
No.
Right? Like
no.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, here you are, you've got the widescreen, and there's only a shot in the middle, and you can only see that.
Right. Everything's centered.
Yes. Well, you miss out on the cinematic feel, I think. I'm still I think that's the challenge of it.
You miss out on everything, I think. You miss out on the acting, the storytelling, because and to what you were saying about, writing good scripts and telling good stories, is I think that's what's missing from this whole vertical phenomena, mm-hmm. or phenomenon.
Yes. You're right.
That's missing. It's missing the quality, like the good story quality, and if
you captivate somebody for the story, you've got them. Why not hang on to them and keep them and share the rest of the story?
Yeah.
Because then when you captivate somebody and you've got them, I mean, mm-hmm. when you have someone in front of you and you're sharing a story, right? Like a little kid or something, and their eyes are just wide open and they're just super focused on you, mm-hmm. you're going to keep that story going. If you're making it up, you're going to keep it going a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah. You just, as you were talking, for some reason, I was thinking about, I shot a music video with my nieces and my nephews on my iPhone. I shot a music video. It was like an unofficial video to a Radiohead song. I just remembered that. But that was all on an iPhone.
See?
and edited on an iPhone.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
I don't know
you're
why
already...
I thought about that, but
All right. So that was the final last words that lasted 20 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
Final last words. The Ouroboros.
So the final last words on the final. Well, great. So again, Jeremy Gladen. Did I say it right this time?
You did.
Do I sound Southerner? Jeremy Gladen.
Jeremy Gladen.
Over on the online net thing.
That online net thing, yeah.
Yep. So anyways, jeremygladen.com, and then your Instagram is what? What is your Instagram?
Same name, Jeremy Gladen. At it's the at
the at yeah.
Geez, Jeremy Gladen.
Okay, yeah, because I never look at that for some reason. I don't look at handles. That's so weird. So Jeremy, thank you very much for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
I really love the discussion, and I know our listeners will too. And speaking of our listeners, say goodbye to our listeners.
Yeah, bye, listeners. Thanks for listening.